Welcome back to Salt City Counseling, everybody. Once again, my name's Scott Carter. I am a licensed therapist here in the beautiful state of Utah. And it's been a while since I've done any videos. I've sort of been taking a step back from a lot of things and reevaluating a lot of stuff. But want to keep the content going. Want the world to be mentally healthy, especially in 2020 when there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of challenges. Quite frankly, I have seen a lot, and I mean a lot, of troubling mental health issues emerge in the face of a certain widespread illness. To me, the mental health implications have been astronomically worse. Astronomically worse. It's just immeasurably worse. And so it's been kind of troubling to see where a lot of our priorities lie. But that's neither here nor there. In this video, I'm going to give my 2 cents on EMDR. I'm going to talk about EMDR, which is a therapy modality. Stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. This is a therapy model. This is the therapy du jour these days. Everybody wants EMDR. A lot of people get into their heads that EMDR is sort of the one-size-fits-all beautiful approach, magnificent. Tie it up with a neat little bow. Whatever it is that you're struggling with, you need EMDR. So a lot of people are seeking EMDR therapy, even if they don't have significant trauma. It is specifically designed to help with trauma, and for people to heal from their past trauma. Now, here's what you need. Here's some of the things that you need to know about EMDR. Number one is, because this therapy model is so popular, there are a lot of clinicians who want to do it just because out of the demand, the popularity for it. And unfortunately, a lot of therapists don't do it very well. They do it incorrectly. They do it wrong. Problem with EMDR is when it's done wrong or when it's done poorly, it can be very, very traumatizing. I see a lot of these ambitious clinicians who are more so attached or stuck on this idea of, getting that certification or getting into this therapy model so that they can do it. And what ends up happening is a lot of these clinicians have, they're not really respecting the trauma threshold for a lot of the folks that they work with in therapy. And they can trample all over that trauma threshold. And therapy can actually end up being really re-traumatizing. Therapy can be really intense. I've had people ask me if EMDR is supposed to be horrible, if they're supposed to hate it, if they're supposed to dread it, if they're supposed to spend the next 2 days totally dissociated and re-traumatized, and being completely checked out of life because of how intense the therapy session was. I would get asked these questions as a clinician, and initially my response was, well, in my opinion, no, but I don't know enough. I actually didn't know enough about the therapy model to really firmly answer that question. But on a gut level, therapy is supposed to be therapeutic, not traumatizing. And when EMDR is done poorly, it can be re-traumatizing. So I personally got really turned off from EMDR when I went to a conference. And therapists are required to get additional education units. Attorneys are, even though they're still idiots. Oh, sorry, I had to. I don't like family lawyers, man. I have to get my shots in. Sorry. Strike it from the record. Medical professionals have to get additional continuing education as more research comes out. So I was at this conference and just sort of like doing my due diligence. I'm required to be there. I like learning. I like improving. But when I'm forced to sit through these conferences, I secretly resent it. Anyways, so one particular clinician was doing it's about an hour-long presentation on EMDR. He was EMDR certified. I know this individual not really well, but he's one of these clinicians that's, I'm not trying to necessarily bag on him or put him down, but his style is very different from mine. Like I generally tend to be personable, vulnerable, authentic, engaging. That's my style. Whereas I've always found him to just be very sterile and Welcome to therapy. And today's EMDR session is very sterile as a clinician. And so he showed this clip of an EMDR session. And again, the to me, the lack of sensitivity for the intensity of the trauma of some of these people really troubled me. Where it was just treated like so clinically and like they're just a lab rat or something, and I thought, and it troubled me. The EMDR, the presentation on EMDR was just very, very clinical and very sterile. And this particular patient has significant sexual trauma. And I remember watching a clip of this real EMDR session. Obviously, the patient gave their consent to have it recorded. And I remember her talking about sexual trauma, I believe it was inflicted by her grandfather. And she was like, I remember her just like wailing and crying and like, like in session like that. And I remember, and then the clinician in the video was like, there, like really, again, sterile, very clinical. And it bothered me. I just hated it. I'm like, and I'm just sitting there thinking like, man, I've been in mental health for 20 years. I cannot do therapy that way. I can't do it. I can't do this like, okay, well, welcome back to your EMDR session. And today we're going to talk about the next time that your grandfather raped you, and like, late trigger warning. I'm going to talk about sexual trauma, but I don't feel like you should have to do that. Give a trigger warning. Life is triggering people. And therapy sometimes brings up intense emotions. But you see, my point here is that based on that experience, and then like seeing other clients where, for example, I worked with a kid that his mom did EMDR. And according to the family, according to the kids and the husband, mom goes to EMDR. And the family is like a ball of anxiety because she comes home and has a tendency to just lose it on them. So basically, mom goes to EMDR and everybody else hides in their rooms for 2 days. And so I went to an EMDR therapist and I'm like, is it supposed to be that way? So the problem is that EMDR actually wields a lot of power psychologically over people. And it has a ripple effect in their lives if it's done poorly. And I've just seen too many EMDR therapists who are not sensitive enough to that process. So if you have trauma and you're seeking EMDR, be warned. There are EMDR therapists who do not take enough precautions and will not hesitate to rip open things that you're not ready to look at. And it will be re-traumatizing. And there's a part of EMDR where you're supposed to do a lot of foundational stuff, help you cope, help you manage, help you understand, help you process, help you get through it. And a lot of these EMDR therapists don't do enough of that. They just re-traumatize and send you back in a dissociative state, which basically means you're checked out, you're detached. I've heard the stories of people driving through stoplights after their sessions, their therapy sessions. This is why EMDR is very, very, very controversial. This is why I am not a big fan of it. Now, that being said, one of my clinicians at my clinic does do a lot of EMDR. I emphasized with her, hey, look, we cannot have people leaving here in a dissociative state. And based on my evaluation, she's one of the ones that does it well. She's one of the ones that does it correctly. And people are it's actually therapeutic for them instead of re-traumatizing for them. So if you have trauma and you're just seeking EMDR therapy, they're rubber stamping these certificates. Oh, you paid your $1,200 and sat through the class, here's your certificate. And then they're trampling all over your trauma threshold. It's irresponsible, if you ask me. And this is one of the reasons why I dislike EMDR and why it's controversial. However, I know that it can be done well. And when it's done well, it's actually therapeutic. So if you're seeking EMDR, just be cautious and find someone that really knows what they're doing. Find someone that can actually help you heal instead of just cause you to deteriorate in a state of fear and franticness. So that is sort of the skinny I know that's sort of a lot on EMDR. There's lots of ways, folks. There's many roads that lead to Rome. I'm just saying, okay? So, thanks for watching. If you like my content, you know what to do, man. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. We'll see you in the next one.